In a luxury Dallas restaurant, a billionaire CEO's dark secret shocked everyone, until a group of unexpected heroes walked in. This is a true, heart-touching story of courage, justice, and humanity. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Where are you watching from? Let's get started. It was a cold evening in downtown Dallas. The lights from luxury cars gleamed against the rain-soaked streets as people hurried into the city's finest steakhouse, the Silver Oak. Inside, everything looked perfect. Expensive chandeliers, quiet jazz, and the faint scent of aged wine. But perfection can hide the darkest sins. At the corner booth sat Robert Hensley, a billionaire CEO known for his ruthless business empire and charming public image. Across from him was his pregnant wife, Laura, barely speaking, her hands trembling around a glass of water. The couple had been regulars here for years, but tonight, something was different. Something felt wrong. A young waitress named Megan noticed it first. She saw Laura flinch every time Robert spoke. He leaned forward, his voice low but sharp. No one could hear the words, but the look on Laura's face said enough. Megan tried to stay professional, refilling glasses and offering polite smiles, but her heart pounded with unease. Moments later, it happened. The CEO's temper snapped. He slammed his fist on the table, shouting something about embarrassment and control. The restaurant went silent. Laura whispered something, maybe a plea, and before anyone could move, Robert grabbed her arm and shoved her against the booth. The sound of her cry echoed across the elegant room. People froze. No one spoke. No one stood. They all knew who Robert Hensley was. The billionaire who owned half the city, the man whose face was on magazine covers. Even the restaurant manager, who started to approach, stopped halfway. Fear was thick in the air, heavier than the storm outside. Megan's hands shook. Her instincts screamed to help, but her co-workers whispered, "Don't get involved, that's Robert Hensley." Still, her eyes filled with tears as she saw Laura's hand go to her belly, the small bump that carried a life. The thought of an unborn child in danger made her stomach twist. Robert shouted again, his face red with rage, veins visible in his neck. He slapped Laura across the face. The crack of it broke through the silence like lightning. Dishes clattered. A few gasps came from nearby tables. Someone reached for their phone, only to put it back down, afraid of what would happen if the police got involved. Laura's lip bled. Her body trembled. She looked toward the crowd, eyes silently begging for help. But all she saw were lowered heads, turned faces, and shaking hands. No one dared move. The tension hung like a scream no one wanted to release. Megan finally whispered to the hostess, "We have to do something." But before they could, the door to the restaurant creaked open. The sound of heavy boots echoed on the wooden floor, slow, confident steps that made everyone turn. The hostess froze as several leather-clad bikers entered, soaked from the rain, their vests marked with a red and black patch. No one knew it yet, but everything in that restaurant was about to change. The restaurant fell silent the moment the bikers stepped inside. 6 of them, leather jackets, rain dripping from their boots, eyes sharp and unflinching. They weren't just any riders. Their patches read, "Iron Brotherhood MC, Texas Chapter." To the rich crowd inside the Silver Oak, they looked completely out of place. But to Laura, trembling and bruised, they looked like hope. The tallest biker, a broad man with gray streaks in his beard, scanned the room. His name was Mac, a veteran and president of the club. He noticed the fear in everyone's eyes, then saw Laura, her swollen lip, her shaking hands, and the monster sitting across from her. Robert Hensley scoffed. "What are you staring at?" he barked, his voice filled with arrogance. "This is private business." Mac took a slow step forward. "Looks like public business to me," he said, his voice low and gravelly. "You put your hands on a woman. That ain't private." The billionaire stood, buttoning his suit jacket like he was untouchable. "Do you have any idea who I am?" Mac didn't blink. "Doesn't matter. You touch her again and you'll find out who we are." The crowd watched in stunned silence. The bikers moved closer, forming a quiet wall between Laura and her husband. One of them, a younger rider named Chase, gently helped Laura out of the booth. "You're safe now, ma'am," he said softly. She broke into tears, clutching his arm for balance. Robert tried to step forward, but Mac placed a firm hand on his chest. "Sit down," he said calmly. When the CEO shoved back, the biker didn't hesitate. He slammed Robert's arm on the table with enough force to make the plates rattle. The once powerful man gasped. The air knocked out of him. "Call the cops," Mac ordered the staff. But the waitress, Megan, was already on the phone. Her hands no longer shook. She felt relief. Robert shouted threats, lawyers, money, influence, but none of it mattered anymore. The bikers stood their ground, keeping him from getting close to Laura again. When the police arrived minutes later, they didn't find frightened bystanders. They found 6 bikers standing guard over a crying woman, shielding her like brothers. The officers recognized Mac. "You again," one said with a faint smile. "You always show up when no one else will." Robert was escorted out in handcuffs, still shouting, "You'll regret this!" But the only answer he got was the sound of Laura's quiet sobs and Mac's voice saying, "Not tonight, she won't." As the crowd began to breathe again, people clapped softly, a sound of guilt and gratitude mixed together. Megan walked over to thank the bikers, but Mac just smiled and said, "You did right calling us." Before leaving, he turned to Laura. "You take care of that baby, all right? You're stronger than you think." When the door closed behind them, the storm had finally stopped outside. But inside the Silver Oak, no one would ever forget the night when the bikers walked in, and Justice, for once, didn't wear a suit.